If you have a vehicle that kind of blows a bluish smoke, white bluish smoke out the tailpipe when you first start it up, but then the rest of the day it seems okay, you probably have leaking valve seals. Now in this case, this engine got real hot, the water pump went bad, the engine got real hot, the valve seals are leaking. So we have a 05 Chevy Silverado with a 5.3 engine. We're going to show you how to change the valve seals. Now if you have the experience level to do this job, we probably don't need to tell you every little thing to take off to gain access, but we're going to show you the basics and then we'll get down to the valve seals. Pull the spark plug wires off.
Okay, when we get ready to do this, we're going to pull one spark plug out and leave the rest of them in, because we're going to put air in the cylinders to hold the valves up. And if you pull all the spark plugs out, it's just going to turn the engine over. And you want your piston all the way up towards the top, so if a valve does fall, it just falls an inch and hits a piston, and then we can just slide it back up in there.
Take the coil pack off. And the valve cover. And you take the rocker arms off.
Don't use air on them, because they're aluminum head.
When you take the rocker arms off, take them out and set them somewhere and keep them in order, the same order that you took them off. Take out one spark plug at a time. We're going to put new plugs back in. We're going to do the first cylinder on this side, and you want that piston all the way to the top. So put a socket on the front of the crankshaft to turn it until this piston is all the way to the top. We're going to use this KD overhead valve spring compressor tool. We're also going to have to use this hose so we can put air in the cylinder. Some of these compression hoses have a Schrader in them. If you do have that, just simply take the Schrader out so that you can get air straight through the tube. We've got the air tube screwed into the spark plug hole. We hooked up our shop air into it, and now we're going to put air in that cylinder. We took the rockers off so all the valves are up. We've got air in that cylinder to keep the valve from slipping down. It shouldn't slip down unless we lose shop air for some reason, but that's why we put the piston all the way up, so just in case we lose shop air, we'll still have the valve where we can get a hold of it. But you want to be sure and put that piston up, because if that valve falls all the way down, then you're in trouble. Now you use the valve spring compressor to take the keepers off. Use a little magnet to get the keepers out of there, and then your spring comes off. Now you can see the valve seal down in there. Again, we're going to do one valve at a time.
There it is.
There's one of the bad seals. Now here's the new valve seals. The one on the right with the red color is the exhaust. The one on the left with the black is your intake. This valve is the exhaust valve, because if you look, it's coming right in front of the exhaust manifold. So that's the exhaust valve. The next one over is going to the intake. So this first one is the exhaust valve. Take the new valve seal, slide it over, push it all the way down. You can also use a socket if you want and just slide it over it. Your valve spring should stay in the spring compressor. Slide it back over. Get your keepers lined up. Now you got your keepers slid back in there. Sometimes you have to fiddle a little bit with them to get them lined up. And then loosen your spring compressor. Now you can see the keepers are set in place. That valve is done. Now we'll do the next one, which is the intake, and then we'll have this cylinder done. If you compress it but it doesn't allow you to get the keepers out, then loosen it and grab a little bit more spring with that compressor. We like to pull the valve seal off with this little relay puller tool. It works real good. It just grips it and pulls it straight up. Here's the bad seal on the left and the good one on the right. You can see that that little seal on the top is a little bit wallered out on the left. Another way of doing it is with a socket. Take a socket and just put it over the top and tap on it. Tap it down. I'm showing you various ways to do it depending on the tool set that you have to work with. Those little keepers should snap all the way down in place before you release the spring. Now you let the air out of the cylinder so the valves can float like they're supposed to. Unscrew the tube, put a new spark plug in. Then you basically just repeat the process for each cylinder, doing one at a time.
Now when you pull the rocker arms off, be careful that you don't knock the push rod out of the lifter down there. And if you do, you just grab it and make sure you're going down in the hole. Another way to make sure you got it in the lifter is to turn the motor over by hand. Always turn the motor over clockwise and then watch that rod go up and down. If the rod's going up and down, then you know you got it in your lifter.
So it's really not a very complicated job. There's really not a whole lot of special tools you need. You are going to have a little magnet so that you can grab those keepers. And you need a compression hose so you can put it down there and put air into the cylinder. You are going to have a valve spring compressor. There's 2 or 3 different styles. This just happens to be the style we have. There's another style that you can actually screw onto that stud and pry it. Whichever, you just have to compress that spring. And you'll need some type of wrench where you can get down there and turn the engine over so that you can get that piston all the way to the top. And grabbing those valve seals, we like to use the relay puller, but you can use anything that will actually just reach down there and pull it up. Or if you don't have something like that, you can just pry them up a little bit. Take it slow, do one valve at a time, and make sure you keep your exhaust and your intake valve seals separated, and you should be okay.